Nicki Minaj gets suspended from Twitter before I do. What the fuck? A blue check before me. Anyway, we'll talk a bit about what she got suspended for because it's pertinent to the national conversation, and we'll go over some of what's going on with that. In other news, the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch, introduces a bill to extend the pandemic unemployment insurance for, well, who knows how long at this point. The FBI has fired the agent who investigated the gymnastics coach after the gymnastics teams of various places that have worked under him testified in front of Congress. And 4 people are mysteriously found dead in my state. Actually, not too far from where I grew up either. So, nobody knows, but they're saying it's a murder mystery in the making. It's going to be all this and more. Hey, 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 do you trust the plan yet? I'm J. Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Got some nice chill stuff to go to at the beginning of the show here. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is J. Edgar. I feel like I should be talking like this in a very jazzy voice and saying, hey, welcome to Contemporary, everybody. It's going to be a great show today. We got a lot of stuff to get to. Yeah, I can't do that for the entire show here. I'm going to get pissed later on. So, unfortunately, I can't do the chill, jazzy DJ kind of thing here, but we got a lot of stuff to get to today. And by the way, don't you just hate it when you've got that sneeze just kind of sitting there waiting? It started to come on right as I was reading the opening, the stuff that we're going to talk about today, and it threw me off completely. So, if I have to stop and mute the mic, or it just happens to come on mic, I apologize in advance, but yeah, it's sitting up there in my nose. It's waiting to come shooting out of there. Maybe we'll watch a video later on, and then I'll be able to go do something about it. But it doesn't look like I've got a lot of video up here for you guys today. Regardless, welcome to Contemporary. My name is J. Edgar. We got a lot to get to today. I tweeted out right before the show that this is kind of like the spaghetti at the wall portion of the news cycle, where the mainstream media is just trying to throw stuff up there so people stop talking about General Milley or the vaccine mandates or one of 1,000 other things that they don't want people talking about right now because they're becoming less and less politically convenient as we go. So we're going to go over all the stuff. Well, hopefully all the stuff. I don't know if we're going to get to everything or not today because, you can't see it yet. I haven't put the news stack up yet, but look at that stack of news that we've got up here. Look at that. Look at all that. But let's get into it. But before we even do that, go over and check out some of my friends who we're going to be broadcasting in an upcoming program, and we will carry, getting ahead of myself, J. Edgar, we will carry such great shows as the Daily Ignoramus, who is off today, by the way, so we won't be going and seeing him after the show. Maybe we'll go raid somebody else on Twitch. As long as we don't have Steven to go back into, we'll go find somebody on Twitch. We'll find some video games to watch, but still, go and follow the Daily Ignoramus, the Porch Boys, the R-rated conservative, who did stream on Monday as well. I hope he's doing well in his move. The Freckles and Brit Show, and the Breakdown with Birkenhoff. Go check out all those shows. They're great shows. They're great friends of the network. They have a lot of good insights, and they are going to help us come out and give you the news that is by the working man for the working man. So definitely looking forward to that. Looking forward to this new project coming up here. I'll be talking with a web developer on Monday, and hopefully Monday night for the Red Net Show, I'll actually have an announcement for you guys. So we will see what happens with that. But yeah, go check out all those shows. They're great friends. They're great people. Great place to get your news from. Great place to get your culture stuff from. And all around great people. All right, let's get into it here, you guys. We have burned enough time coming into here. So let's get started. Let's get the live chat up so I can see what you guys are doing. A few people sharing out. Tell a friend, tell 10 friends, as Steven used to say. Get some more people in here because, hey, you want to talk to your friends, right? And you can talk to your friends over the news. All right, let's get into it. Starting with your finance, the Dow had a nice up day, but the futures are looking a little bit grim for this, so we'll see what happens with it. I mean, the futures don't necessarily reflect trading, because every day that it's gone down this week, the futures were up at the beginning of it. So I say that the futures look grim for it, but and I mean, even looking at the top, the first sales from the futures contracts yesterday, the futures were down yesterday, and the Dow wound up having an up day. So the futures are down again today. We will see what happens with that, but the Dow went up to 136.82 points, or 0.68%. So your industrials are starting to catch back up off something here. Your Bitcoin. By the way, Google stopped giving me the Bitcoin chart, which kind of made me mad. But we still have the Bitcoin proper chart here we can go back and look at. We've got a 7-day chart off of this. Your Bitcoin is at $47,991 US dollars and 75 US cents, which means it went up $420.91 yesterday. So, like I said, when it was down to 44,000, I hoped you grab a little bit of it while you were on sale, because you know you're making out a little bit better with it now. And Bitcoin is the one too, where there are places that you can actually spend the Bitcoin. If you get the Bitcoin, you go back and say, hey, I'd like to buy a sandwich with this nice little bit of a thousandth of a Bitcoin. Can you offer me a sandwich for this price? And some sandwich shops, unfortunately mainly in California and New York, can say, yes, I can take Bitcoin for your sandwich. So, or maybe you can buy a Tesla with it. I don't know, but there are actually places you can spend that, unlike other cryptocurrencies like your host might carry, where there's really no place to spend it. But that's where your Bitcoin is looking at right now. Your scrap prices for the day. Copper is down, $3.31 a pound. Steel is up $161 a ton. And aluminum is on the way back down. So if you got those cans, you've been sitting on them like I've told you to, now is going to be the time to go and toss some of those in before it drops any further off of this. Looking at the individuals, your copper is mixed with bare bright down and tubing flashing. Number 2, tubing and insulated wire up. Your steel is also mixed. Steel is down. Light iron is up. Number 1 steel is up. Rotors are up. And your aluminum is mixed as well. Copper fin aluminum is down. Radiators are up. Cans are up. Sheet aluminum is up. And rims are down. So that's where your scrap metal prices are going right now. Let's check in with IBD for the morning here. Dow Jones Futures stock market rally flashes several buys, including Microsoft, Palantir, Devon Energy. This is from Ed Casson. Dow futures tilted lower early Thursday morning, while S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures fell slightly. The stock market rally rebounded modestly on Wednesday from key levels, snapping NASDAQ losing streak and ending for now a series of weak closes in the major indices. Energy stocks and steelmakers were big winners Wednesday, with Devon Energy and ArcelorMittal flashing buy signals. And the page reloads. ArcelorMittal flashing buy signals, but it was a broad-based advance. Palantir Technologies, Microsoft, and Copart also offered buying opportunities. Microsoft, Devon, are on IBD leaderboard. Copart, ArcelorMittal, your stock are in Swing Trader. Microsoft and Copart are IBD long-term leaders. Copart stock was Wednesday's IBD stock of the day. On the futures, Dow futures were slightly below fair value. S&P 500 futures lost 0.15%. NASDAQ 100 futures fell 0.3%. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, investors will get the weekly jobless claims, August retail sales, and the September Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. So a lot of news is going to change this, so we'll be seeing a different chart tomorrow, no matter what it is that these records show us. That's going to be a lot of the change. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. That was a quick one coming off of IBD. Let's look at CNBC for the morning. U.S. stock futures are down again as markets try to shake the September funk. From Yoon Lee. U.S. stock futures were slightly lower Thursday following a rebound on Wall Street as the market tried to avert September's seasonally weak trading. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 14 points. That's it. Wow, that barely moved. S&P 500 futures lost 0.1%, and NASDAQ 100 futures shed 0.2%. Moderna rose slightly in pre-market trading after the company released more data on breakthrough COVID cases that supports the push for wide use of vaccine booster shots. We will be talking about that later on. Futures could be on hold until traders get a look at August retail sales due out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Retail sales are expected to decrease by 0.8% month over month. According to the consensus estimate from Dow Jones, investors will also monitor the latest jobless claims data on Thursday. Economists polled by the Dow Jones expect a total of 320,000 Americans filed for unemployment insurance in the week of September 11th, slightly up from 310,000 in the week prior. Wednesday's regular trading session, the S&P 500 gained 0.9% Wednesday amid a 3.8% jump in the energy sector, posting its biggest daily increase since August 27th. The blue chip Dow advanced more than 200 points, while the tech-heavy NASDAQ composite rose 0.8%. Despite a rebound on Wednesday, the S&P 500 and the Dow are still in the red for September. So far this month, the 30-stock Dow is down 1.6%, while the S&P 500 has declined 0.9%, on track for its worst monthly performance since January. The NASDAQ has fallen 0.6% this month. After 7 straight months of gains for the S&P 500 and a near 20% rally to records this year, many on Wall Street expect bumpier trading and lower returns for the rest of the year. History is not on the market side, as September tends to be a typically negative month for stocks. The S&P 500 has fallen 0.5% during the month, on average since 1945, according to the data from the CFRA. Friday begins a particularly weak period for stocks, as those September losses typically come in the back half of the month. The wall of worry is becoming increasingly challenging to climb, with rising depth and breadth of concerns and a potentially tired market, said Mark Hackett, Nationwide's Chief of Investment Research. The stress factors facing the market have not materially changed, including the Delta variant, earning headwinds from supply chain and labor challenges, fiscal and monetary tailwind, shifting to headwinds, and bubbling concerns around China, Hackett said. So there are a few things moving, and we'll see what happens with the unemployment report. It looks like it is going up. So I'm not sure. I'm really not sure at this point. Do keep in mind, though, that the unemployment benefits are gone, and the pandemic era eviction moratorium is gone. So maybe we'll see more people just going out and desperately begging for those jobs. And sometimes an uptick in unemployment for 1 month actually does signal good things, because people have gone back to work, found out that the job sucked, and then had to go back on unemployment because they got fired or they just weren't cut out for the job. So a few things move with that, and we'll see what happens, and we will see where it goes. All right. I want to start today, of course, with something that Twitter had to come out and tell us here. The US FDA starts off with a tweet from the morning, and this was the top trend over on the What's Happening when I started off this morning. The FDA tweets out, "Some people are taking ivermectin, a drug often prescribed for animals, to try and prevent or treat COVID-19. FDA has not approved or authorized ivermectin for this use, and it can be dangerous for people." Yes, this is the hydroxychloroquine argument all over again. A medicine that has been in use since the mid-'80s, approved for human use, not necessarily for COVID, by the way. I don't know how ivermectin works for COVID. I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. But I know we can go look at the statistics and know that this is a medicine that has been used for various parasitic and respiratory illnesses since the middle of the 80s. So there is an effective human dose. Now, yes, if you're going to Tractor Supply and getting a big thing of horse paste and sucking it down because it's going to help you prevent COVID, then you're an idiot and you deserve to be taken out of the gene pool. But this whole narrative that the mainstream media is trying to shove out to us that, oh, this has never been used for humans, it's fucking bullshit. It is bullshit. And they know it. But Big Pharma is terrified right now that people are going to find out just from regular use and then experimentation. And then, of course, acceptance in the medical community that this could do something that overcomes their need to push you into getting this stupid vaccine. They need you to get this vaccine, and once again, if you want to get this vaccine, get it. I'm not going to look down on you if you get it. Just don't expect me to do it. Alright, but that's what we have from that. Let's read one from the FDA on this very briefly. You should never use ivermectin to treat or prevent COVID-19. COVID-19, we've been living with it for what sometimes feels like forever. Given the number of deaths that have occurred from the disease, citation needed please, it's perhaps not surprising that some consumers are turning to drugs not approved or authorized by the FDA. Except it is. Except this drug has been welcomed by the FDA up until people found out that it relieves some symptoms of the pinko fucking pox. One of the FDA's jobs is to carefully evaluate the scientific data on a drug to be sure that it is both safe and effective for a particular use. In some instances, it can be highly dangerous to use a medicine for the prevention of COVID-19 that has not been approved by or has received emergency use authorization from the FDA. There seems to be a growing interest in a drug called ivermectin for the prevention of treatment of COVID-19 in humans. Certain animal formulations of ivermectin, such as pour-on, injectable, paste, and drench, are approved in the US to treat or prevent parasites in animals. For humans, ivermectin tablets are approved at a very specific dose to treat some parasitic worms, and there are topical formulations for head lice and skin conditions like rosacea. However, the FDA has received multiple reports of patients who have required medical attention, including hospitalization, after self-medicating with ivermectin intended for livestock. Citation needed, please. The FDA has not authorized or approved ivermectin for use in preventing or treating COVID-19 in humans or animals. Ivermectin is approved for human use to treat infections caused by some parasitic worms and head lice, and skin conditions like rosacea. Currently available data does not show ivermectin is effective against COVID-19. Clinical trials assessing ivermectin tablets for the prevention or treatment of COVID-19 in people are ongoing. Taking large doses of ivermectin is dangerous. If your healthcare provider writes you an ivermectin prescription, fill it through a legitimate source such as a pharmacy and take it exactly as prescribed. Yes, like every other drug. Consult your doctor, they know your body better than you. But, that's not what the tweet showed either. Now, yes, the FDA is coming out and they're doing we know all along it's been used for human use, but read the subtext in this tweet here. Read what this says. Some people are taking ivermectin, a drug often prescribed for animals to try and prevent or treat COVID-19. FDA is not approved authorized ivermectin for this use. There's no mention of the fact that there's human tablets out there. This tweet was meant to give leftoids an argument when they go back at evil MAGA people who are going to go out and take horse paste in order to go out and prevent COVID-19 instead of going and getting the perfectly safe vaccine that we don't know anything about and people are getting sick from. This is propaganda. This is all propaganda. Read between the lines and also follow the money. We'll be talking about that later on too when we talk about vaccine stuff. Read between the lines. Alright, that's what we see coming from ivermectin. Let's talk about Nicki Minaj. And I cannot refresh this page right now because otherwise I will lose it because she is suspended. I am glad I picked this up last night. So Nicki Minaj replied, because she had been talking about Tucker Carlson, and once again I can't go back through this and show you what she said about Tucker Carlson, because suspended account, which means this will all disappear as soon as I hit the refresh button. But she had mentioned the fact that her story got picked up by Tucker Carlson, the fact that we didn't talk about it on this show, but we talked about it in various other Discord chats throughout the day that Nicki Minaj has pointed out that her cousin apparently got the jab, and his balls swelled up. And apparently the story got around to Tucker Carlson, which Nicki Minaj mentioned something. I think she quote tweeted Tucker Carlson for it. And then Hassan Abi, who was blue checked, I have no idea who this is, Hassan the Hun, over on Twitter, says, "You know he's a white nationalist, right?" And Nicki Minaj quote tweets this back out and says, "Right, okay, I can't speak to, agree with, or even look at someone from a particular political party. People aren't human anymore. If you're black and a Democrat tells you to shove marbles up your ass, you simply have to. If another party tells you to look out for that bus, stand there and get hit." Which is, I mean, directly on, right on. That's the way that I look at it. I've seen some of the struggle, like my friend Mr. Behavior, that he endures going on with this because he is black and not a Republican. And it's not necessarily that, or I'm sorry, he's a black and not a Democrat. And it's not necessarily that he's a Republican. He just doesn't pick up and carry the entire progressive line the way that's prescribed to people who look like him by the mainstream media and the mainstream world. The thought, of course, being that if you do have a certain shade of skin, you are supposed to take whatever progressive propaganda they feed to you and don't even question it. And that's where we go with Nicki Minaj. Plus the fact that Nicki Minaj is also a hip-hop artist and famous. So you're definitely supposed to toe a line, because otherwise people might run out and they might do something different. They might do something different than what Hollywood is telling them to do. That also goes along with the question of, in what world is Tucker Carlson a white nationalist? Because he's not. But yeah. And more people are running out here with the big resist in their profile. What are you resisting, by the way? That's what I have to know. He's out of office. What are you resisting? But Aliki Resist says, "You're missing the point. All of the anger entirely. You are a powerful woman whom millions of people respect, admire, and listen to. Suggesting even slightly that the vaccine is harmful does a tremendous amount of harm. Your country is dying because of COVID." And Vaush, because he's Vaush, says, "Keep digging." And we've got some news to go with this. Starting with St. Fauci, hallowed be his name, but I gotta step away for a half a second. So enjoy a little bit of music. I will be right. Those of you on Instagram, unfortunately, are not going to be able to hear the music, but I gotta step away for a half a second. Good news, I found the sneeze. It finally came. It's finally out of there. Now I can talk without having to wonder if my nose is going to twitch and I'm going to sneeze right square into the microphone and blow out your eardrums. Alright, let's keep going. Nicki Minaj says COVID vaccine could make you impotent. Fauci shut her down. Oh, this is your big game of Fauci says. This is from Minnie Von Burke. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's leading infectious disease expert, debunked a claim made by rapper Nicki Minaj that the COVID-19 vaccine can make men impotent. Fauci dismissed the claim as false when asked about it during an interview on Tuesday on CNN. There's no evidence that it happens, nor is there any mechanistic reason to imagine that it would happen, he said. So the answer to your question is no. Fauci went on to talk about the dangers of the vaccine misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation on social media, and the only way we know to counter mis and disinformation is to provide a lot of correct information, he said, and to essentially debunk these kinds of claims, which may be innocent on her part. I'm not blaming her for anything. Because you know you will get dragged if you blame a black woman for this. You know full well, Saint Fauci, that you will get dragged through the streets if you criticize a black woman for this. I'm not blaming her for anything, but she should be thinking twice about propagating information that really has no basis. Let's listen to CNN. Can't believe I just said those words.
Why do you think we're seeing this major spike of new cases in kids? Is it because they're back indoors, in school, and because some governors are not letting mask mandates take place?
I think all of the above that you mentioned, Jake, but also we've got to realize that this is happening in the context of the Delta variant, which is remarkably more transmissible. So we're getting more cases in everyone. And since you get more cases in everyone, children who generally are under-vaccinated, many of the adults, particularly the elderly, for example, we have now 85% of the elderly, 65 years of age or older, have been vaccinated. So the older population as a group is more vaccinated than the younger population. So when you get a highly transmissible virus that's going around the community, you're going to see a lot more children get infected. And that's exactly what's happening. And also for the reasons that you just mentioned.
We talked about last year how damaging it was academically and psychologically for kids to be out of the classrooms for an entire year learning remotely. So what would you tell parents about calculating risks? Is it better to have kids in a classroom than to have them at home? What's your advice?
I still hold to what I've said many times, Jake, that we really want to get the children back in school for the reasons that you mentioned, the psychological, mental, and other deleterious effects from keeping them out of the classroom. But the way you do it, you have to keep them safe. And you keep them safe by surrounding them with people who are vaccinated, such as teachers and school personnel, as well as children who are old enough, 12 years old and older, to get vaccinated. And you superimpose upon that wearing masks in the school. That is very important. We know that masks prevent infection. So if you surround the kids with vaccinated people and you have everybody wear a mask, you can get a situation where the children will be relatively safe in school.
So former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, he predicted a vaccine could be approved for kids under 12 by Halloween. He's on the board of...
I love that statement right there. We know that the masks prevent infection. The most heavily masked areas of the country, Los Angeles and New York City, had the biggest outbreaks of this stupid fucking thing. And you're still trying to convince me that we know that masks are what helps? You're still trying to convince me of that? Seriously? Are you dumb? Are you brain dead? Don't answer that. This is nothing more than, like I said, a massive game of Fauci says. Fauci says jump up and down. Fauci says wear a mask everywhere. Fauci says get the jab. Oh, go back to work. I didn't say Fauci says. The Starships rapper made an erroneous statement on Monday in a series of tweets explaining why she skipped this year's Met Gala. In one post, the rapper, who said she tested positive for the pinko-pox herself, told fans she didn't want to put her baby at risk. Minaj and her husband, Kenneth Petty, welcomed their first child together last year. She went on to say, "They want you to get vaccinated for the Met. I get vaccinated, I won't for the Met. It'll be once I feel I've done enough research. I'm working on that right now. In the meantime, my loves, be safe. Wear the mask with 2 strings that grips your head and your face, not that loose one. In a third tweet, the rapper shared a bizarre story about her cousin's friend in Trinidad who got the vaccine and became impotent. The CDC says on its most updated information page on vaccinations that there's currently no evidence that vaccines, including COVID-19, cause fertility problems in women or men. But they're studying the effect on periods, which has to do with your fertility. Minaj's tweets caused a firestorm and garnered strong reactions from numerous leaders and officials. I'm not familiar with the works. Oh, that's Boris Johnson. I'm not familiar with the works, or as familiar with the works of Nicki Minaj as I probably should be. Why? Why should you be familiar with her works? You're a stiff British man who has no fun or no culture. Why would you ever be familiar with her works? Adding that vaccines are wonderful and everybody should get them. MSDNC host Joy Reid also criticized the Grammy-winning artist. You have 22 million followers on Twitter. For you to use your platform to encourage our community not to protect themselves and save their lives, my God, sister, you can do better than that, Reid said. Yeah, it's all about compliance. It's all about toe the line, get up there, do what they tell you to, and don't question it. That's what it's always been, right from the beginning. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, stay in your house. Oh, well, we couldn't flatten the curve because all the idiot MAGA people decided they had to leave the house. Oh, wear the mask. Oh, we couldn't eliminate this because all the idiot MAGA people wouldn't wear the mask. Get the jab. Oh, we can't eliminate this because all the idiot MAGA people won't get the jab. Over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. And it is. It's all a compliance thing. That's all it is. It's ever been. So that's what we see from Fauci Says. Let's talk from Fox Business. Nicki Minaj says she's in Twitter jail and will never use the platform again. From Breck Dumas. Rapper Nicki Minaj told her Instagram followers on Wednesday that she's been placed in Twitter jail and will never use Twitter again, but Twitter says the company took no actions against her account. The rapper's claim comes the day after the social media platform said publicly that her controversial tweets did not violate their rules. I'm in Twitter jail, y'all, the artist proclaimed on Instagram. They didn't like what I was saying over there on that block. I guess my poll was going to be asking questions is okay. Like being fucking dumb, then boom, can't tweet. A Twitter spokesman told BuzzFeed on Wednesday morning Twitter did not take any enforcement action on the account. Minaj tweeted earlier in the day that the White House invited her to visit after she revealed her hesitancy to get the pinko-pox jab on Twitter earlier this week. She then responded to another user, "Right, I can't speak, agree with, even look at someone from a particular political party. People aren't human anymore. If you're black and a Democrat tells you to shove marbles up your ass, you simply have to. If another party tells you to look out for that bus, stand there and get hit." The White House confirmed to Fox News that the Biden admin had extended an invite to Minaj, with an official saying, "As we have with others, we offered a call with Nicki and one of our doctors to answer questions she has about the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine." Hey, I've been vaccine hesitant. I said I'm not getting this stupid fucking thing. Where's my White House call? I know my FBI agent is listening, and he can tell the White House that I would like a call from the houseplant in chief to hear what he has to say about the pinko-pox jab. I would like that phone call. On Monday, Minaj made waves when she wrote on Twitter that she was still doing research on getting the shot after her cousin in Trinidad had a friend whose testicles became swollen after getting the jab. Critics dismissed the claim and accused the rapper of spreading misinformation, but Twitter said at the time she did not violate their rules. Well, one of the things that goes along with that, by the way, is the fact that she may or may not have violated the rules, and there may not be any sort of outward appearance that she has been suspended. But do keep in mind that they can disable your ability to send out a tweet, and everything else is still visible. So, and I worried about that earlier when we looked at this. I said I can't refresh this page because she's suspended and I'll lose the tweets. Maybe she's not actually suspended. Maybe they just locked out her ability to send out more information until they verified the veracity of the information she's already sent out. So it might be a soft lock, just so they can save face and not come out and tell the world that they suspended a black person. Let's listen to Tucker. Also things that I never thought that I would say on this show.
Oh, he's fine. It's Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend's testicles who are swollen from taking the vax. That's the claim. But it's not anything to do with the physical effect of the vaccine that makes our political class mad. It's the last part of Nicki Minaj's tweet that enrages them. The part where she says you should pray on it, make the decision yourself like a free human being, and, quote, don't be bullied. So our media and public health officials didn't like this because they make their livings bullying people. So they couldn't let it stand.
Yeah, I can see where some of the problem is with this, and where some of the people are coming out and trying to make this out. And it's not even, it goes back to the ivermectin thing. Ivermectin is a relatively inexpensive drug. And it's something that's been approved for human use in various, like I said, parasitic and respiratory infections since the 80s. I mean, it's not like this is something new or something big or some homeopathic remedy that's out there that you just go and get off the, what am I going to say? Off the coal shelf. Like, oh, here's a vitamin C supplement. Here's, I don't know supplements because I don't take them. Here's a rosehip supplement. And here's an ivermectin supplement. We can use this and this will cure every disease out there. Here's some essential oils to go with this. It's not anything like that, but follow the money. And we've got a bunch more vaccine stuff, and it's going to be the same thing again. Follow the money. These big pharma companies that came out and made these vaccines are getting paid per vaccine by the federal. They're not doing this for free. Now, yes, we heard Biden come out and say, what are you waiting for? We've told you, the FDA told you that the vaccine is safe and we've made it free. So just go out and take it already, goddammit. Because I need to get my 70%. Damn it, go get your vaccine. And realistically, it is free to you. The end user, it's free for. But these vaccines are coming with a no-bid government contract. And what do we know about no-bid government contracts? They are insanely inflated. Pfizer and Moderna, they're getting paid out the ass to have you go in and sit in a chair every 5 months. And we'll talk about that in just a second. And once again, I'm not saying this is a bad vaccine. I'm not saying this is something you should never take. You should go and assess what's best for you health-wise, what's best for you societal-wise, and what is best to protect you and your family. And then follow through with that plan. And if that does include the vaccine, then go get the vaccine. And if that does not include the vaccine, well, I hear the Price is Right is nice this time of year. All right, let's keep going here. From the Dissociated Press, White House offers Nicki Minaj call to answer vaccine questions. This is from Alexandria Jeff. We talked about this yesterday, by the way, on a Discord voice chat. We were talking about this in, I think it was the Porch Boys server, where, I mean, Nicki Minaj is way, way, way over made up. Like, there's a lot of plastic in that body. She wears way too much makeup all the time. Usually it looks like, I believe Nailbender said that she got face fucked by a box of Crayola. But if she takes some makeup, I mean, I've seen her without any makeup on at all. And even in this picture, she's got some makeup on. Nicki Minaj is a really pretty girl. Which always makes me wonder why people have to go and cover themselves in a layer upon layer upon layer, like 7 layers of makeup. A little bit of foundation and a little bit of eyeliner goes a long way, people. Alright, but my unfortunate extensive knowledge of makeup aside, let's read from the Associated Press. The White House offered Wednesday to connect Nicki Minaj with one of the Biden admin's doctors to address her questions about the jab after the Trinidadian-born rapper's erroneous tweet alleging the vaccine causes impotence went viral. The White House said they've offered such calls with others concerned about the vaccine, part of an aggressive public relations campaign to beat back rampant disinformation about the vaccine's safety and effectiveness. Minaj tweeted on Wednesday that the White House invited me, and yes, I'm going, but a White House official said the rapper was simply offered a call. Minaj made headlines earlier this week when she noted in a tweet to her more than 22.6 million followers that the Met Gala required attendees to be vaccinated and she wouldn't get the shot until I feel I'd done enough research. She later issued a tweet sharing an unverified story about a cousin's friend in Trinidad. Minaj asserted that the unidentified individual became impotent and his testicles became swollen after receiving the shot. St. Anthony of Fauci, the patron saint of medicine, dismissed the claim as misinformation during an interview on Tuesday on CNN. There's no evidence that it happens, nor is there any mechanistic reason to imagine that it would happen, he said. Throughout the year, the White House has struggled to counteract resistance to getting the shot, particularly among younger and more Republican demographics. And black, but the Associated Press won't talk about that. The administration has pointed in particular to false or misleading information about the safety and efficacy of the vaccines. As a driver of that hesitance, it has referenced a study by the CDC, Center for Countering Digital Hate, a nonprofit that studies extremism that linked a dozen accounts to spreading the majority of vaccine disinformation on Facebook. The administration has sought out new ways to refute the disinformation and reach young vaccine skeptics earlier this year, inviting teen pop star Olivia Rodrigo to the White House to show her support for the shot. Well, if a pop star I've never heard of is going to tell me that I need to take it, then holy shit, I better go take it. Right? Right? And that's the other side of this, before we move on and talk about other things that are going on with this. That's one other thing that I want to point out. It goes back on to the race thing. Demographically, black people are the least likely to get vaccinated as of this point, and that's understandable given the history that this country has with experimental medicine and black people. I'm not saying that if I was black, it would change my opinion on this. I would still come out and say, follow the money, see where the money goes, and see what the government is doing with the money. But I am saying that, looking back at the Tuskegee thing and a myriad of other things, I would be a lot more concerned if the government was coming to me and saying, just put this medicine in your arm and shut up and don't ask questions. I'm concerned about that now. As what most people come out and say is the preferred demographic of this country. I'm hesitant of it now. I can't imagine if people who look like me have been experimented on for generations, how much more I would be along with it. But there again, if you think this is the best course of action for you, go and get this thing. If you don't, go and watch The Price is Right. Let's keep going. Jesus, we're an hour in, almost, and we've only talked about Nicki Minaj and ivermectin. What are we doing with our day? From the Daily Wire, nobody's being forced to be vaccinated, Biden Commerce Secretary says, from Ben Johnson. Although President Biden issued a new mandate requiring millions of federal workers and contractors to get vaccinated and exerting strong pressure on private employers, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo denied that the administration is forcing anyone to receive the COVID-19 vaccination. Nobody's being forced to be vaccinated, claimed Raimondo on MSDNC on Tuesday morning. The secretary was responding to MSDNC host Stephanie Rulli, who announced that she was puzzled by people that would continue to say they're forced to get vaccinated here. Workers in the private sector who do not wish to receive a vaccination can always sequester themselves at home, Rule said. There's always been a choice. If you do not want to get vaccinated, you can work from home, you can homeschool your children, you can shop online, Rule said. If you do not want to vaccinate your kids, you can homeschool, and people have done it for years. Raimondo agreed rather. We're not being forced, she repeated. You can work from home. You can get tested on a weekly basis. I think this is smart public policy and great leadership by the president, Secretary Raimondo said. Raimondo's assertion contradicts numerous planks of President Biden's 6-point plan to combat the spread of the novel coronavirus, which he unveiled last Thursday evening. The White House website notes that President Biden signed an EO to require all federal executive branch workers to get vaccinated, a number it places in the millions. So, with that, No, we're not forcing you to get the vaccine, but we're just saying that if you don't want to get the pinko pox jab, then you have to stay in your home, locked in your home forever, and never come back out and see the light of day again. So we can sit back and call you a basement-dwelling chud, or a basement dweller, or a shut-in, or something else like that. You're not being forced, but we're going to make life as difficult for you as possible if you don't bend the knee and do exactly what it is that we say. Do you see it yet? Do you understand? Do you see what they're doing? All right, let's keep going. From the New York Post, Moderna says new data supports need for booster shot that the government will pay for on a no-bid contract without questioning. Follow the money. Always follow the money. From Jesse O'Neill. People who received a dose of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine 13 months ago have a higher rate of infection than those who got inoculated at the beginning of the year, new data shows. The new stats from Moderna's large vaccine trial indicated the effectiveness of its doses decline over time and support a case for booster doses, the company said on Wednesday. The new analysis revealed what a weakness in the Moderna vaccine's staying power, after a recent study suggested that it may be more effective over time than the Pfizer-BioNTech dose due to longer intervals between the first and second shots and higher levels of mRNA. The drug maker compared the success of the vaccine in the 14,000 volunteers vaccinated last summer and fall to the 11,000 volunteers who took the shot between December and March. 88 people in the more recent group got COVID-19 compared to 162 cases among the former. However, only 19 of those cases were severe, and the rate of harsh illnesses was lower among the second test group. Moderna says the study adds to the evidence that a booster shot is needed, especially to protect against severe cases of the pinko pox. It shared 2 studies to back up the findings, including a CDC review that found Moderna's vaccine was much more effective at preventing hospitalization than Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson's. Moderna is developing a booster shot that protects against COVID-19 and the seasonal flu, as the FDA continued to weigh the need for a third Pfizer shot ahead of a Friday meeting. And then what happens? The 4th shot in another 5 months, the 5th shot in 5 months after that, a 6th shot, a 7th shot. Do you have to go in every 5 months? Do you have to come in? I mean, is this a cyclical thing? How much money is the government going to get off this? How much of your taxpayer dollars going to this? Follow the money. Follow the money. See where this is going. That's where you always need to go and look at this, is go follow the money. And there are people who will run up and do this, and they'll run up and say, "Oh, I gotta go get my booster. Can I have a day off work? I've got to go get the booster. I might get sick. I gotta go get the booster." And they will do it unquestioningly, every 5 months at a time. And Moderna's going to get filthy fucking rich off of it. All right, here's one for you. From NBC News. Misinformation killed her. Bride-to-be who hesitated to get vaccinated dies of COVID. Yeah, it's always interesting that every few weeks they can go dig up another one of these anecdotal stories. Let's talk about what's going on here. From Elizabeth Chuck. Samantha Wendell could not wait for her wedding this summer. For nearly 2 years, the 29-year-old surgical tech had been meticulously planning every detail, from the seating chart to the Tiffany blue floral arrangements, her fiancé Austin Askew said. Wendell and Askew wanted to start a family as soon as they got married. Askew, a correctional surgeon, said the couple of Grand Rivers, Kentucky, hoped to eventually have 3, maybe 4 children. So when the COVID-19 vaccines came out, some of the Wendell's co-workers said the shots caused infertility, an unfounded claim that has gained ground. Despite top reproductive health groups refuting it, she's just kind of panicked, Askew said. Wendell then decided she should hold off on their vaccines. It was a choice that cost her life. Instead of attending her wedding, which was supposed to be on August 21st, her family is now planning her funeral. The funeral will take place this weekend at a church in Lisle, Illinois, close to where Wendell's parents live. It was the church where she and Askew were going to have their wedding, and the same spot where Wendell's parents have been married. We dug out our wedding pictures, Janine Wendell said. It was so looking forward to seeing the comparison pictures. What was going to be a time of celebration instead turned into a harrowing 6 weeks as the family watched Wendell, an outgoing woman who loved animals and easily became friends with everyone she met, struggle with COVID-19, she said. Wendell's fiancé, her mother and cousin, told NBC News they were sharing her story because they were certain she would have wanted other people to learn from her mistake. Misinformation killed her, said Maria Vibendor Hayes, 39, a cousin who lives in New Orleans and said goodbye over FaceTime before Wendell died on September 10th. If we can save more lives and families' lives, then this is a gift that she left for us to deliver. Despite her initial hesitancy, Wendell herself had recently changed her stance on the vaccine. So, yes, it was the vaccine hesitancy that killed her. Now, I'm not going to lie to you people in the audience. I'm not. I tend to like a girl who's got a little bit more meat on her bones. I like the full figure. Sometimes that overlaps with the bigger girl. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But one thing to point out with this, and I've never made the big is beautiful argument and you're perfectly healthy at any size argument when I come out and say this. I understand, especially in this coronavirus time, that one of the comorbidities that coronavirus seems to attack is people who are overweight. And I'm sorry, but this girl is there. So I do question whether it was the actual COVID that killed her or if it was a comorbidity that was aligned with that. Or if this is just another anecdote of somebody who just happened to get sick and die, who didn't have the vaccine, that they can come out and parade out at the top of NBC News and say, you must go and get the vaccine. Follow the money once again. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? From Fox Business. Biden recruits Disney, Microsoft CEOs to push COVID-19 vaccine mandate. From Megan Henney. I see what you did over there, Katie Z. That might be a little bit too far for the YouTube censors, but I see what you did over there. President Biden on Wednesday met with some of the top business leaders in the country, including CEOs of Microsoft, Disney, and Walgreens, days after the White House announced strict vaccination rules for millions of workers as the highly contagious Delta variant surges. Meeting participants also included the chief executives of Columbia Sportswear, Kaiser, Permanente, and Business Roundtable, which represents more than 200 businesses. The group I'm meeting today is leading the way on vaccinations, Biden told reporters before the meeting began. The meeting came less than a week after Biden unveiled new policies targeting the vaccine-resistant, including requiring most federal employees to get COVID-19 vaccinations and private companies that employ more than 100 people to have their workers inoculated or tested weekly. Under the rule, private companies will also be required to provide paid time off for employees to get the shot. The new measures would apply to about 2/3 of the country's workforce. Those who don't comply could face a steep fine. In addition to the vaccine requirements, Biden announced plans to double federal fines for airline passengers who refuse to wear masks on flights or maintain face covering requirements on federal property. We've been patient, Biden told the tens of millions of Americans who have refused to get the coronavirus shot, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. Well, big boy, you want to come to my door and tell me that? I'd love to be the martyr for the Secret Service, to show how bloodthirsty they are. The president admitted on Wednesday that implementing the new vaccination rules could take some time. It's about beating this virus and saving lives, he said. It's not, it's about control, But some small businesses have complained that Biden's tough vaccine requirement could exacerbate the existing labor shortage and make it more difficult to fill open positions. Karen Kerrigan, the president and CEO of the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council, has described herself as staunchly pro-vax, but slammed the requirement that employees either get the shot or a weekly test to punitive, poorly thought-out government mandate. Yes. President Biden calls his a path out of the pandemic, but this mandate on business is a path to confusion, vastly higher costs, new liabilities, and general workplace chaos for businesses, Kerrigan said. Yes. The restrictive one-size-fits-all requirement will hamstring the flexibility business owners need and are using to adapt to the ever-changing nature of the pandemic and its variants. Yes. And by the way, we're in another situation where the small businesses that have 100, 150, 200 employees are going to be struggling to get this done, to get all their people on board, to herd them into getting into compliance with this, while your Facebook, your Google, your Microsoft, your Amazon, your companies like that can absorb that cost with no problem. This is doing nothing but shutting down more small businesses and putting the squeeze onto them, while giving another handout to the big businesses who will take up and pick up the mantle when they go under. So that's what we see off of that. All right, from CNBC. AOC biscuit to introduce bill to extend pandemic unemployment insurance up to 2022. From Jennifer Liu. The Honorable and Venerable Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch, is calling for pandemic-era unemployment insurance programs to be extended until February of 2022, she announced during a virtual town hall on Tuesday. The Congresswoman said that she will introduce a bill to extend federal unemployment programs established under the March 2020 CARES Act, which expired over Labor Day. If passed, the enhanced jobless aid would be retroactive to September 6th and extended until February 1st of 2022. Millions of Americans and their families lost access to the pandemic UI programs this month that provided aid to out-of-work freelancers, gig workers, caregivers, and the long-term unemployed. All remaining workers collecting unemployment benefits also lost the $300 weekly booster that was created to supplement low-aid states. I've been very disappointed on both sides of the aisle that we just simply allowed the pandemic unemployment assistance to completely lapse, puppy, when we are clearly not fully recovered from the consequences of the pandemic, sisters. While she added she's not sure of the impacts or prospects of the legislation being passed, Ocasio-Cortez said she simply could not allow this to happen without at least trying to extend jobless aid. Many GOP lawmakers and business owners have blamed the weekly booster, which in some cases pays recipients more in benefits than their previous wages, for disincentivizing people from taking new jobs, even as the number of openings has surpassed the number of people looking for work in recent months. Several studies have shown jobless benefits have had a minimal impact. Several studies have had a minimal impact. Studies on hiring, and that concerns over the virus and ongoing childcare challenges remain top issues for workers evaluating their job prospects amid the health crisis. The majority of workers who received pandemic aid do not qualify for traditional jobless benefits from their state. Advocates have stressed that workers supported by expired pandemic programs are also disproportionately Black, Hispanic, Asian, women, and low-income earners. Democrats in Congress debated whether to extend the benefits, but ultimately opted not to do so. And that is one thing that I do need to point out. Now, I don't agree with this, and I don't think this will pass. I think there are enough business owners who have their hands into pockets of people in both parties that this is probably going to get like 7 votes in Congress, and it's going to get downvoted the rest of the way. Because these business leaders need their cheap, desperate labor to continue to go in and work the jobs. And with so many people who are losing their benefits at once, they can offer them any wage that they want, down to, of course, the federal minimum wage, in order to get them up in the door. This isn't like the point where we were before the pinko pox, where there were jobs out there and there just weren't people to take them because so many people were unemployed. Under 4% unemployment. And that's what was pushing wages up. Now these business leaders see all these desperate people and say, oh, hey, you want to make, what is it, $7.25? $7.25 an hour? $7.35 is it? I don't even know what the federal minimum wage is. You want to make minimum wage? Government, you made this problem. You made this problem. However, if this were to get passed by some miracle, some reason, if this were to be something that they go out and do, then this belongs in the legislature. This doesn't belong in the executive branch. This doesn't belong by EO. This does belong in the legislature. So at least it's originating from the right place. But we don't have the money to do it, and really, honestly, like I said, there are enough business leaders who have probably paid off their congressmen to make sure that the desperate workers have to go out there and not get extra aid from the government at this point. So, that's what we'll see from that. All right, from Insider. Enforcing Biden's workplace vaccine or test mandate falls to a toothless federal agency that Trump gutted, experts say. Ooh, it's Trump's fault! It's Trump's fault that Biden won't get a stupid fucking mandate. From Grace Panetta. President Joe Biden's announcement of the new workplace vaccine or test mandate to combat COVID-19 spurred anger, vows to commit mass civil disobedience, and threats of imminent lawsuits from Republican office holders. But before the first legal challenges against the mandate roll in, the Biden admin faces the more immediate conundrum of whether the chronically resource-strapped OSHA is up to the task of enforcing it. The agency's challenge comes at a particularly inopportune time. It's reeling from deep staffing cuts under the Trump admin, and its fines are relatively low and often fought out in long court battles, two experts told Insider. Still, OSHA may have a potent trick up its sleeve to force employers' hands, they said. It's always been true with OSHA that, especially relative to other government agencies, it's just woefully understaffed. Professor Matthew Johnson, a labor economist at Duke University's Sanford School of Public Policy, told Insider. From the outset, they've been kind of under-resourced in both terms of manpower. In terms of the inspectors, they have always been very limited in the size of penalties that the agency can levy on employers they catch violating the law. Yes, because these safety hazard organizations, if they're going to be done by the government, should be done at a lower level, at a local level, at a county level, at a state level. Because what is a DC agent going to do when he needs to go hit Chicago, Wyoming, Los Angeles, and Phoenix in the same fucking day? Because they're that understaffed. Biden directed the Department of Labor to draft an emergency temporary standard requiring employers with over 100 workers to mandate the vaccine or weekly testing for employees, a rule that will cover approximately 80 million U.S. workers and be enforced by OSHA. Experts say the Workplace Safety Agency was gutted under President Trump, who ran on loosening regulations on private industry, and when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, critics said the agency was asleep at the wheel in implementing safety regulations to protect the highest-risk workers from the virus. Under the past administration, OSHA was virtually out to lunch, Judy Conte, a government affairs director at the National Employment Law Project, told Insider. God only knows how many people got sick and how many people died as a result. We really believe that the Trump OSHA department and the Department of Labor has blood on its hands. By 2019, the number of OSHA inspectors had fallen to the lowest level since 1971. According to an April report from the AFL-CIO, there are now only 1,798 OSHA inspectors, federal and state, which come out to the one inspector per 82,881 workers, and just $3.97 budgeted per covered worker. Good. OSHA's useless. Get rid of it and let the states come up with their own solutions to the problem. Why does this always have to be at a federal level? Over the 4 years that the admin They just let OSHA shrink and shrink and shrink by attrition, never filling any of the slots they were open for hiring, Conti said, and the enforcement that they did was fairly pitiful. So this Department of Labor had a lot of catch up on and a lot of making up to do. And while OSHA has begun to enact stronger guidance around the pinko pox protocols and pick up the pace of enforcement, under the Biden admin, Conti said the agency has its work cut out for it on enforcing the new mandate. Because OSHA doesn't have the resources to inspect every workplace in its purview, inspections are most often triggered by acutely dangerous working conditions or workers filing complaints. It's going to have disproportionately be on employers and employees filling out complaints, Conti said of enforcing the mandate some Republicans have said should be widely resisted. OSHA, even if it was fully staffed, just doesn't have the number of inspectors necessary to do the kind of proactive enforcement that it should be doing in general or even specific to this. So, the bad might not be there. And I know, like Insider, they're trying to hide at the very bottom of the article what it is that this could be. Public shaming could be OSHA's secret weapon. While OSHA may be understaffed and underfunded, they do have a key resource in Public Affairs Office that they could put the worst offending employers on blast via press releases. The threat of bad publicity is a really big deterrent to get companies to comply with OSHA regulations, Johnson said. Under the Obama admin, OSHA rolled out a strategy of issuing press releases shaming companies that were fined $40,000 or more, the highest end of OSHA fines, while the policy fell off the wayside under Trump. Johnson's research found that a healthy dose of public shaming may be one of the most effective tools in OSHA's toolbox. So this is true, but this is also... You're probably going to drive, especially if it's a non-vax company, you're probably going to drive a lot more employees to that company if they find out that the company doesn't require the vaccination and has told OSHA to go and fuck itself. If you issue this fine to one of these companies, a lot of people are going to look up and say, I don't have to get the vaccine to go work here. And they're going to burn the ground trying to get to there and go start working for that company. This could backfire on you majorly. But this is something that I pointed out as far as something that we should be doing for like the EPA. I understand the strategy they're going to try to do for this, but given the politicized nature of the pinko pox vaccine, this actually might be something that could backfire on them. I've said, get rid of the EPA entirely. And instead, make it a law requiring that all businesses publicly have to post their waste disposal procedures. And if you get caught not posting it or trying to hide it, you get a $500,000 fine. And the people who can look at these public posts and say, oh, General Mills puts toxic waste out in the rivers. We're never going to buy General Mills cereal again. That would be a lot more effective than just EPA agents coming out and giving you fines every time you do something fucked up. That would be a lot more effective. All right. From Fox 11. So here's an interesting one for you guys. From Fox 11, the day after the recall. LA County to require proof of vaccination for indoor bars, nightclubs, and breweries. From Mary Strigini. LA County is planning on issuing new health officer orders later this week that will require proof of vaccination for indoor bars, wineries, breweries, nightclubs, and lounges. People with the last name Newsom are exempt. The order will also require proof of vaccine or negative COVID test for outdoor mega events, including Dodgers, Rams, and Chargers games, County Public Health Director Dr. Barbara Fair told the Board of Supervisors on Wednesday. The day after the recall, the day after they knew they could get away with it, now this goes into effect. According to Fair, the order will strongly recommend but not require vaccine verification for indoor portions of restaurants. Additionally, the updated health order will enhance the restrictions on outdoor mega events. Back in April, the county issued an order mandating masks for mega events with more than 10,000 people in attendance. The new order will reportedly require all attendees, employees, participants at outdoor mega events to show proof of the vaccination or a negative COVID test within 72 hours of the event. This modified health officer order aligns with the continued need to reduce risk of transmission and increase vaccination coverage, Farrer told the Board of Supervisors. This is a reasonable path forward and will position us to be better able to break the cycle of surges. She said that county health officials believe that targeted vaccine mandates are now a very important strategy for quickly rising vaccination coverage across our county and ending the pandemic. The vaccination testing requirement for outdoor mega events, including Dodgers, Rams, and Chargers games, will take effect on October 7th. Attendees at indoor mega events of 5,000 or more people are already required to show proof of vaccination or negative COVID test. There you go. Do you see it yet? They know they can get away with it, and now they do. All right, I'm going to step away for just a second again. I'll be right back. Swear to God, every time I get a good allergy day, the next day is just kicks my ass. All right, let's keep going. From the Associated Press, GOP pushes unfounded fraud claims before California recall. Because of course they did. This is from Adam Beam and Christina A. Cassidy. California Republicans were trying to contain a fire of their own making a day before the voting ends in the recall election against Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, persuading their voters to turn out Tuesday even as party leaders promoted unsubstantiated claims that the race was rigged or compromised by misconduct. Yes, the vote hasn't even happened yet, and we can come out and say for certain that the race was totally above board. The claims are unfounded. Just don't question any of this. Larry Elder, one of the leading Republican candidates seeking to replace Newsom if the recall succeeds, says he believes there might very well be shenanigans, as there were in the 2020 election. His campaign website has a link to Stop California Fraud website where people can report suspicious voting activity or sign a petition demanding a special legislative session to investigate the election that isn't even over. On Monday, former President Trump, who has continued to promote falsehoods about his loss in the 2020 election. Yeah, you remember when the Associated Press used to be objective and just report the news, not inject their own editorial into this? Issued a statement saying, "Does anybody really believe the California recall election isn't rigged?" The messaging poses problems for Republican Party officials who are encouraging everyone to vote while also promoting a narrative that California's election security can't be trusted. Harmeet Dillon, an attorney and the Republican National Committee woman for California, said she made a video with her husband showing how they cast ballots by mail and urging everyone to do the same. But Dillon also said he could not say whether California's election will be safe and secure, detailing numerous problems that she said she and a team of attorneys monitoring the election have witnessed. There will be a lot of questions and potentially litigation after this election about the sloppy at best treatment of the people's ballots and the right to vote, Dillon said. I think people have to get out there and vote. We have to document problems and we have to litigate those problems. Now, of course, this isn't going to come to fruition after all because Larry Elder conceded. He said, okay, I give up. We're done. And he's going to go back and move on with his lives. But I do want to take the second and point out some of the things that they're trying to say in this and some of the propaganda that they're trying to push on this, because that's the big part of what we're seeing off of this. Now, when we look at this, Larry Elder conceded. That much we know. But they're coming out here, and I mean, this was the same thing that happened with the Georgia election, where Donald Trump may have shot himself in the foot because people looked out and said, well, my vote doesn't matter. Why would I even go out and stand in the line? I might have to stand there and not have water allowed to be in the line. But when you look at something like this, and this is the thing, in a Democratic election like this, even if you think that it's rigged against you, even if you think that there's no way that you can win, Even if you think that no matter what happens, no matter how many people come out and vote for the candidate that you want, that they're just going to find the votes to go and make sure that their globalist candidate wins, make it hard on them. Make it hard. Just like they did in 2020. I can't say just like they did in 2020 because nothing bad happened there, and Biden is the most popular president in history, Hong Kong. More votes than even Barack Obama, Hong Kong. Most popular president ever, Hong Kong. But in a simulation, in a video game, where there might have been fraud in an election that didn't happen on a year that was 2020, you still turn people out in droves. If they gotta find the votes to cover 78 million people who came out and voted for your candidate, if they've got to come out and find 80 million votes to make that happen, then make them go find 80 million votes. Make them work for it. Don't let them come to a situation where they only have to find 40 million votes or something like that. Make them go find 80 million. Go make them find 100 million votes. Turn out as many people as you can. Make it as difficult as possible on the people that you hate. And even if there isn't a candidate on the ballot that you hate, I'm not an advocate of voting against a candidate, but sometimes maybe you should, especially if there's one that you egregiously hate so much. Throw a vote at his opponent, even if you know it's going to be rigged against it. Make the outcome so absurd that they have to explain themselves. Like 2020, if it was in a simulation and it wasn't absurd. Hong Kong. Most popular president in history, Hong Kong. All hail Biden. So yes, always, always, always get out there. Don't be discouraged if you think it's rigged. Get out there. Make your vote count. Even if it is fucking the rest of them over. From the LA Times. It's now Larry Elder's California GOP. What's his next move? From James Rainey. Although the effort to recall Governor Newsom failed, the lightning 2-month campaign appears to have at least one clear beneficiary, Larry Elder. The conservative talk radio host jumped to the front of the pack of 46 recall challengers after he entered the race on July 12th, enhancing his brand as media provocateur and potentially paving the way for a future run for office. His showing Tuesday, when he led the challengers by a wide margin, could establish him as the putative leader of the state's Republican Party. Some of his more ardent followers have said that they hope Elder will run next year to challenge Newsom for a second time. Asked about a 2022 run, Elder told KMJ Radio in Fresno on Tuesday, "I've now become a political force here in California in general, and particularly within the Republican Party. I'm not going to leave the stage." But his path to a victory would be even more difficult then, when he would have to receive a majority of the vote in a state where Democrats outnumber Republicans nearly 2-1. Tuesday's results represented a stark dichotomy from Elder, the LA native, making his first run for office at 69, rocketed past more experienced candidates to become the darling of conservatives. That put him tantalizingly close to becoming the first black governor of the state's 171-year history. But his unbending conservatism against abortion rights, opposed to the minimum wage, prepared to reverse COVID-19 vaccine and mask requirements likely repelled enough voters in liberal-leaning California to help drive a considerable segment of the electorate towards keeping Newsom in office. He is now the leader of the resistance in California, or at least one of the biggest leaders, said Carl DeMaio, a San Diego talk radio host and chair of the Reform California Political Action Committee. If he does want to run again, and there's no doubt he is the Republican nominee, there's simply no doubt. But dominion over small conservative resistance, dominated by a shrinking majority of older white voters, is not a formula to return Republicans to power in California, said GOP consultant Mike Madrid. Well, really honestly, for Larry Elder, he's probably going to go out, he's probably going to get syndicated on a bunch more radio stations, he's probably going to get a whole bunch more money, and whether he runs again or not, I don't know. But he's going to get rich off of this no matter what. From the Hill, Biden says he has complete confidence in Millie, so shifting gears, talking about the houseplant in chief. This is from Brett Samuels. President Biden on Wednesday said he has great confidence in General Mark Milley to carry on as chairman of the Joint Chiefs after a forthcoming book reported extraordinary measures Milley took at the end of the Trump admin to guard against potential missile launch. Biden reaffirmed his faith in the nation's top-ranking military officer during a meeting with business leaders on vaccine mandates Wednesday. His remarks come amid calls from some corners of Congress for Milley's resignation. The president knows Milley. He's been chairman of the Joint Chiefs for almost 8 months of his presidency, the White House press secretary Jen Psaki said at a Wednesday briefing. They've worked side by side through a range of international events, and the president has complete confidence in his leadership, patriotism, and his fidelity to the Constitution. Honk honk, honk honk, honk honk, honk honk, honk honk, honk. Of course, Biden has complete confidence in General Milley. He said mean things about the Orange Man. From CNN, federal judge denies Trump's request to stop E. Jean Carroll lawsuit from moving forward. From Kara Scannell. A federal judge overseeing columnist E. Jean Carroll's defamation lawsuit against former President Trump has denied Trump's request to stop the case from moving forward as they await an appeals court decision. District Judge Lewis Kaplan on Wednesday entered a minute entry on the court's docket indicating that he was denying Trump's request for a stay of his ruling last year, which rejected Trump's offer to substitute the Justice Department as the defendant, a move that would essentially kill the lawsuit. Judge Kaplan's sudden decision revives the case, which has been on hold for nearly a year, while Trump and the DOJ pursued an appeal. The ruling could pave the way for Carroll's attorneys to pursue subpoenas for documents, records, and DNA sample from the former president to prove her claims of sexual assault. What DNA does she have? Has she been holding a vial of his jizz for almost 30 years? Because this happened in the early 90s, didn't it? Has she been holding a vial of his jizz for almost 30 years? And would it still have DNA in it? Carroll has accused Trump of raping her in a New York department store in the mid-90s. Trump has denied the claim, saying Carroll wasn't his type and that she fabricated the allegations to boost sales of her book. Carroll sued Trump for defamation. No written order or opinion was published, and it's not clear why Judge Kaplan denied the stay on Wednesday. Trump's lawyers made the initial request to stay all proceedings in December of 2020, while it pursued an appeal. Kaplan denied the stay without prejudice, meaning Trump's legal team could renew its effort. They could also ask the appeals court to stay the proceedings. In a statement, Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, said, "We're looking forward to oral arguments in our case before the Second Circuit. In the meantime, we're reviewing Judge Kaplan's order." So, the judge is named Kaplan, and the attorney's named Kaplan. Is there a conflict of interest here? Lawyers for Trump could not immediately be reached for comment. Legal briefs have been filed, and an appeal and oral arguments are set for the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the week of November 29th. I'm not saying this didn't happen. I'm not saying that this never happened anywhere. I'm not saying that Trump is totally innocent. I am saying that E. Jean Carroll has brought forward very little evidence that anybody's been able to see except for a shady allegation from almost 30 years ago that doesn't seem to have any corroborating evidence behind it. She's doing it for defamation right now, which means she's not doing it for the sexual assault lawsuit. Which I could see, although I don't know why the DOJ wouldn't be involved in that, because the defamation would have happened on the official capacity of the president in the White House because he was in the White House at the time. The DOJ should be taking this one up. This should not be an individual suit. By the way that our legal system is structured, especially for the government. The DOJ should be handling this. But the DNA evidence, I don't understand where that comes either. It's a defamation lawsuit. Did you say that? Yes, Your Honor, I did. Did you receive that? Yes, Your Honor, I did. Did you receive any financial blowback from this? Maybe, Your Honor. We don't know yet. Okay, that's what your defamation lawsuit is. As far as the rape goes, I don't know if it took place. I don't know if it happened. I know that sex in a dressing room is a difficult proposition. Even if both parties are willing and eager, sex in a dressing room is a difficult, at best, proposition. And a difficult feat to carry out. Even at the best of circumstances. Mind you, you're in the middle of a department store. Scream, say something. But when one participant isn't willing or able, I can't see that going well. Attempted, maybe. But that's what we see from that. From ABC 7 News, speaking of sexual assault, Simone Biles, other star gymnast, testified before Congress on FBI's Larry Nassar investigation. From Tierney Sneed, Olympic gymnast Michaela Maroney and Simone Biles ripped the FBI and the Justice Department in the Senate testimony Wednesday for how FBI agents mishandled the abuse allegations brought against Larry Nassar and made false statements of the fallout from the botched investigation. They allowed a child molester to go free for more than a year, and this inaction directly allowed Nassar's abuse to continue, Maroney told the Senate Judiciary Committee after recounting vivid details she provided the agent interviewing her about Nassar's abuse. What's the point of reporting abuse if our own FBI agents are going to take it upon themselves to bury the report in a drawer, she added. Maroney, Biles, Maggie Nichols, and Allie Raisman were assaulted by Nassar, the former USA gymnastics team doctor who is now serving a several-decade prison sentence. It truly feels like the FBI turned a blind eye to us and went out of its way to help protect USA Gymnastics and United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee, Biles testified while holding back tears. A message needs to be sent. If you're a predator to harm children, the consequences will be swift and severe. Enough is enough, she said, stopping short of saying the wood chipper. Raisman called for more investigation onto how the Nassar probe was mishandled and said that the FBI pressured her to accept Nassar's plea deal. The agent diminished the significance of my abuse. It made me feel a criminal case wasn't worth pursuing, Raisman said. Allegations into Nassar were first brought to the agency in July of 2015. Several violations of protocols led to months of delay, as captured in a scathing Justice Department Inspector General report released in July. While the federal investigation languished, Nassar abused scores of women, the Inspector General report said. FBI officials failed to respond to the Nassar allegations with the utmost seriousness and urgency that they deserved and required, made numerous and fundamental errors when they did respond to them, and violated multiple FBI policies, the report said. So, to the wood chipper with this guy, but yeah, it does look like there were shenanigans for there, and people from all levels came out. I don't know what the point of the Senate committee hearing was, because the guy's sitting in prison, except for maybe hold some accountability to the FBI, but it does look like there's some of that going on as well. From NBC, FBI fires agent accused of failing to investigate Nassar sex abuse allegations. The firing comes after an internal watchdog found that agent Michael Langman and his boss did not properly investigate the sexual abuse allegations. From Rebecca Shabad, an FBI agent accused of failing to properly investigate USA Gymnastics coach Dr. Larry Nassar has been fired by the agency, NBC News has reported. The firing of the agent, Michael Langman, came after the Justice Department Inspector General report released in July criticized him and his boss, agent in charge Jay Abbott, for their handling of the case if they failed to respond to allegations by gymnasts that they had been sexually abused by Nassar with the urgency that the allegations required. Langman was the supervisory special agent in the FBI's Indianapolis field office when he interviewed the Olympic medalist Michaela Maroney in 2015 about her allegations of abuse brother. Wow, I can't read this morning. The Inspector General said that he and Abbott lied to investigators from the Inspector General's office about their actions and they never officially opened an investigation. When the report was released this summer, Langman was no longer acting as an FBI agent. Federal law enforcement sources said an agent cannot be fired while an Inspector General investigation is pending, and the probe lasted 3 years. Abbott retired several years ago. The firing of Langman was first reported by the Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness. Well, good. Now it's time to get rid of the rest of them as well. No more alphabet agencies. Stop doing the alphabet agencies. They suck. All right, from CNN. Here's everything we know about the September 18th right-wing rally in D.C. from Paul LeBlanc. Let's listen to this here briefly first, though. Let's get this rolled back here.
Far-right extremist groups are planning a rally in Washington on September 18th in support of those charged with storming the Capitol. A former top FBI official is warning that law enforcement needs to prepare for the potential of more violence.
I think they should take it very seriously. In fact, they should take it more seriously than they took the same sort of intelligence that they likely saw on January 5th. I think there's a few factors here that maybe are leaning in their favor this time. If you think about it, January 6th was a failure primarily because you had a massive group of people and a complete failure of preparation. In this case, it looks likely that they'll get a somewhat smaller crowd with, things like the Proud Boys telling some of their members not to come. You don't have a sitting president actively fanning the flames.
A sitting president fanning the flames! Go home. Go in peace. Go home with peace in your hearts. He's fanning the flames. Oh my God. The September 18th right-wing rally in Washington, D.C. has brought new waves of concern about more potential violence on Capitol Hill as law enforcement prepares for a variety of scenarios. But it remains unclear how many protesters plan to attend, and the rally is taking place on a Saturday when both chambers of Congress will be on recess, meaning far fewer lawmakers or staff will be in the area. Oh, so there's not going to be any Congress there for the people to run out and say, hey, insert name of Congress member here. Oh, so here we go. This is going to be widely publicized and attended by evil MAGA supporters, wink, honk honk, at a time where almost nobody's in danger? And these people will just suddenly, automatically just be in this area? You're telling me that that this is how this is going to go? They're going to go there when there's nobody there to hear their grievances? I've told you before, and I will tell you again. Don't go. Don't go. Stay away. It's a trap. It's always been a trap, and it always will be a trap. But it remains unclear how many protesters plan to attend, and the rally is taking place on a Saturday. Yeah, we saw that. The Justice for J6 rally aims to support insurrectionists charged on the deadly January 6th Capitol riot. Organizers say it was scheduled to start at noon Eastern Time on Saturday. The rally is being planned by Look Ahead America, a nonprofit led by former Trump campaign staffer Matt Braynard. The group is dedicated to standing up for patriotic Americans who have been forgotten by our government, according to the website. Boehner said in a recent interview with CNN, "This is a completely peaceful protest." Completely peaceful, yes. No, completely peaceful. We've told people that when they come, we don't want to see any messaging about the election. We don't want to see any messaging on t-shirts and flags or signs about candidates or anything like that. Oh, yes. No, don't carry a sign that says somebody else's name. You absolutely don't do that. Still, at least one Proud Boys leader has encouraged followers from across the country to show up, though others online have discouraged attendance and warned it might be a false flag operation designed to trap supporters. Meanwhile, White Lives Matter is advertising global demonstrations for September 18th and has been supportive of the January 6th insurrectionists online, but does not have a DC chapter. Law enforcement officials are bracing for potential clashes and unrest during the rally, according to an internal Capitol Police memo reviewed by CNN. The latest intelligence report on the event notes that online chatter in support of the rally started increasing after an officer who fatally shot rioter Ashley Babbitt went public with his identity in a recent interview with CNN's Lester Holt. There's been a noticeable uptick in violent rhetoric around the event and heated discussions centered on Babbitt's shooting on social media and discussion boards, according to the memo. The document warns that many individuals also see September 18th as a Justice for Ashley Babbitt rally, which could be a cause for concern. It's not unreasonable to plan for violent altercations. Okay, I'm going to say this again. This is a trap. They're setting up to herd the less intelligence of the Trump supporters into one place where they can kill you or arrest you. This is a trap. Do not go. Do not go. Don't go anywhere near this. Get away from it. Organize in your hometown. Besides, Congress is out of session. Nobody's going to be there anyway. If that doesn't set up big, bright lights in your head, that, hey, this might not be a good idea. We're going to gather where nobody can hear our grievances. Then you are too stupid to pass on your genes into the next generation. And the FBI should shoot you. That's natural selection. Do not go to this. Do not go. Do not go. Stay far, far away from this. Like I said, if you need to organize on September 18th, go to your state house. Go to your state capitol. Organize there. Let your assembly know what you think about the January 6th stuff. Do not go to the Capitol. Do not go. Alright, from Axios. DOJ seeks emergency order to temporarily block Texas abortion law. From Oriana Gonzalez and Rebecca Falconer. The DOJ submitted an emergency motion late Tuesday seeking a temporary restraining order on preliminary injunction on Texas's ban on abortion after 6 weeks. The action marks an escalation by the Biden admin on its challenge to the constitutionality of GOP-led states' restrictive new law after the DOJ filed a lawsuit last week following the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in a 5-4 vote to allow the ban to remain in place. The law that took effect on September 1st following the ruling is the most restrictive abortion ban allowed to be enforced since the Supreme Court's landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling that legalized abortion nationwide. The DOJ argues in the filing submitted to the U.S. District Court in Austin that the law, known as Senate Bill 8, was passed to prevent women from exercising their constitutional rights. Alright, and here is the document, the filing for that. Let me go ahead and put that in the Discord for you guys. I'll put this article in the Discord for you guys, so you can go read the injunction for this. But with that, we do need to point out several things that go along with this, including the fact that this is not a ban on abortion, nor is abortion a constitutional right. Exercise your right to privacy. If you need to go and do this, go and do this. It's between you and your doctor. You're probably going to have to go out of state. And I mean, it's not outlawing anything. The rich are still going to go out to California or another state to go get the abortion that they want. The poor people are going to struggle with it. And I'm against abortion. I am. I'm against the government getting involved in it on top of it. But I do think that there needs to be more public shame for people who have done this. Because you are killing a child. We do need to take some time and push back against this. I have the article here with the injunction, or the filing rather, in general chat in the Discord. If you guys want to go look at the documents for it, show me the documents. It's a 47-page document, so it's going to be an intermediate read. But they're going to fight over this forever and ever. The sacred cash cow, the ability to sacrifice your children for Lord Democrat Party. Here's an interesting one that under most circumstances would have been at the top of the show with no problem. Durham is said to seek indictment of lawyers at firm with Democratic ties. This is from Charlie Savage, Adam Goldman, Michael S. Schmidt, and William K. Rashbaum. John Durham, the special counsel appointed by the Trump admin to scrutinize the Russia investigation, has told the Justice Department he will ask a grand jury to indict a prominent cybersecurity lawyer on a charge of making a false statement to the FBI, people familiar with the matter said. In the indictment of the lawyer, Michael Sussman, a former federal prosecutor and now a partner at the Perkins Coie law firm, and who represented the DNC on issues related to Russia's 2016 hacking of its servers, is likely to attract significant political attention. Trump and his supporters have long accused Democrats and Perkins Coie, whose political law group, a division separate from Mr. Sussman's, represented the party and the Hillary Clinton campaign, of seeking to stoke unfair suspicions about Mr. Trump's reported ties to Russia. The case against Mr. Sussman centers on the question of whom his client was when he conveyed certain suspicions about Mr. Trump and Russia to the FBI. In September of 2016, among other things, investors have examined whether Mr. Sussman was secretly working for the Clinton campaign, which he denies. An indictment is not certainty. On rare occasions, grand juries decline prosecutors' requests, but Mr. Sussman's lawyers, Sean M. Berkowitz and Michael S. Bosworth of Leibt and Watkins, acknowledged on Wednesday that they expected him to be indicted while denying he made any false statement. Mr. Sussman has committed no crime, they said. Any persecution here would be baseless, unprecedented, and unwarranted deviation from a political and principled way in which the Department of Justice is supposed to do its work. We are confident that if Mr. Sussman is charged, he will prevail at trial and vindicate his good name. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I'm kind of curious to see where this goes and to see if the mainstream media buries this or not, which is nice because I do get my aggregation usually from the Daily Wire, so they'll probably be watching this. And then I can usually turn around and find something else on like the New York Times or CBS or something like that, where we can actually go back and look and see what goes on with this and what the lefties are saying about it. I'm curious about this one. I really am. Because I've been curious about the origins of the Russia investigation since it started. Let's do the immigration stuff. We're probably going to have to cut it at this point. But let's do the immigration stuff, and then we'll do a thing I like and thing I hate and get out of here for the day. From the Daily Wire, as Afghan migrants are kept in a former Dick's Sporting Goods, measles appear in Northern Virginia. From Luke Rosiak. The handling of Afghan migrants in Northern Virginia is getting even more chaotic, with migrants housed in and then abruptly moved from an abandoned Dick's Sporting Goods in a shopping mall, and residents of the area are potentially exposed to measles. The Virginia Department of Health said people who went to Dulles Airport, Stone Springs Hospital, Innova Children's Hospital, and Falls Church, and the Dulles Expo Center, or the Crown Plaza Hotel in Herndon earlier this month could have been exposed. I know where some of those places are, by the way. Because of Fallout 3. I think the last time I played, which has been a couple weeks at this point, I think the last time we played we were in Falls Church. By the way, we might do that for a little while on Saturday, go play some more Fallout 3. I think that's in order. I think we could arrange that. Have some fun on the weekend. I know I'm going to, I think, Devil's Lake on Saturday, so... Or Sunday, rather. Five Afghan migrants were diagnosed with measles in Northern Virginia, as well as in Richmond at an Army National Guard installation called Fort Pickett in Nottoway County. Most Americans are vaccinated against measles, but it is a highly contagious illness that causes a rash to appear on the face and spreads over the entire body, the health department said. After the federal government brought plane loads of Afghan migrants to just outside the nation's capital, it has fallen on local governments to shoulder some of the burdens, with local officials saying they cannot get information or support from the Biden admin. Some migrants were being kept at a former Dick's Sporting Goods at a shopping mall near the Fair Lakes area. The store is attached to a Dave & Buster's arcade, an ice cream shop, and a children's science lab. So those people are probably exposed too. On Tuesday, the former sporting goods store was surrounded by a high chain link fence, including black fabric, obscuring visibility up to about 5 feet. White trucks were pulling up to a loading dock, according to materials obtained by the Daily Wire. A woman sitting on a folding chair out front said she worked for a Department of Defense subcontractor and that the migrants had been moved and that facility was being shut down. Today, I believe, will be the last day we're doing it because everything's getting shut down, so it would go back to whoever owns the store, she said. I'm not sure if the county, I'm sure they're working with the DoD, but I'm not sure exactly how they have situated. The Fairfax Times reported on September 10th that while it originally seemed many refugees were just stopping for a layover in Fairfax County before heading to the military bases in other states, it seems that more Afghans than originally thought will be staying in and integrating into the county. So yeah, I thought these guys were all supposed to be at military bases while they were being vetted too. What happened with that? And now are they being released out into the community? Have they had their measles shots? Are they going to expose the rest of the community to this? Which most of the community should be just fine because they're all vaccinated. It's a standard vaccine that you get in middle school. Well, most of them are vaccinated. So I have questions. I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions that are probably not going to get answered. All right, let's grab one from KENS5. Thousands of migrants crowded under bridge in Del Rio. From KENS5 staff. The KENS5 border team obtained a video of people under the international bridge. Del Rio Mayo Bruno Lozano said the crowd is nearly 6,000 migrants. Around 5 p.m. Wednesday, U.S. Customs and Border Protection sent a KENS5 statement. They say they're trying to protect the migrants from heat-related illnesses by putting them in a shaded area. We're told it's a temporary staging site where migrants wait to be taken into CBP custody.
A woman separated from her 8-year-old son at the border and deported without him is speaking out.
The woman told us she made her way.
Shut up, you. Let's, wow, that's a lot of people. Let's look at this. Or maybe not. Okay, there was a video there. Let's see if we can get that back. I know this is going to autoplay.
To the administration, I've been trying for the last 48 hours to get communications with the Department of Homeland Security. As you can see behind me right now, we have up to 4,000 individuals that have crossed over the Rio Grande, with another 20,000 en route to the city of Del Rio via Ciudad Acuña from Saltillo. What's happening now is that they're bypassing the routes from Tamaulipas and just coming straight up here, and they're bypassing.
They're bypassing everything, okay? I mean, they're just bypassing everything. We're coming for your children. But that is a bunch of people.
The Mexican visa program, from what I'm understanding from Border Patrol sector here, as they provide me the information. Again, I have been trying to communicate with the Department of Homeland Security for the last 48 hours to try to get some assistance for the Border Patrol here. What you see behind me are individuals that have not even been processed or detained. These individuals here are actually just waiting to get detained, to get processed so that they can be released to continue their journey into the United States. That's not to mention that right now in the Del Rio sector, we have anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 individuals in detention alone right now. So what is the Border Patrol, the Del Rio sector, supposed to do with an influx of not just 4,000, but potentially 20,000 migrants that are coming into the Del Rio sector? Administration, I did give you the stark warning back in February that something like this could happen in the Del Rio area. It's happening right now in real time, and the Department of Homeland Security needs to move a lot quicker and respond a lot faster to this dire situation here underneath the Del Rio International Bridge.
That is a bunch of people. That is a bunch of people. Holy shit. So, yeah, and they're just waiting there to go get processed and brought into holding facilities in the U.S., in spite of the fact that the Remain in Mexico policy is in place, but that's none of my business. All right, I gotta go. We gotta get out of here, but we always do a thing that I like and a thing that I hate before we go. So, let's start with a thing that I like. I don't need to play a trailer for the thing that I like today because, unlike me, most of you guys have seen a lot of movies. I have not. Because I never watch movies. Mostly because I usually stick, if I do watch TV, with a TV series that I can binge because I can more easily break that up into chunks that fit on my schedule. That's the big part of the reason I don't watch movies. It's not that I'm against movies. There are movies that I love. The Back to the Future series. The Hunger Games, I like that movie series. I like the book series better, but I like that movie series. Divergent, not so much. Star Wars, stuff like that. Some of the big classics. It's just I haven't seen all the movies like you guys have. I actually want to sit down and watch the rest of the Karate Kid movies, since I saw the first one so I could go watch Cobra Kai. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about, because for the last week, I have been, as I can chunk it up throughout my schedule, been watching the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. You guys all know it. Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. It is probably one of my favorites in the world. And I'm not going to lie about that. I know that a lot of people dig on it. They don't like the prequels because they weren't canon and they worked too hard for nostalgia. But really, honestly, it tells a great story. And I'm glad I went back into this. I usually go back and watch Star Wars every 3 years. Except not the new ones. I've still never seen Rise of Skywalker. I might. Because I can do it for free. All I have to do is the time commitment to go watch Rise of Skywalker. It's on Disney Plus, and my sister pays for the Disney Plus, so I can legitimately watch Rise of Skywalker without paying a goddamn dime for it. I don't know if it's going to be worth my time commitment or not, but, I mean, I can't say it's a bad movie without seeing it. I can't prejudge a book by its cover. And I can't really compare it to the other one. But going back to the prequel trilogy, I mean, I look back at what happened with that and what they could have been on top of everything else. But just to see some of the things play out that may even seem to have been prophetic at this point. A shadowy figure in the background trying to push what is essentially a nation, because the galaxy works as a nation with states. A much bigger nation than ours, but a nation into war with itself. That was the entire premise of Attack of the Clones, as that after the blockade from the Trade Federation, separatists started separating themselves off the galaxy. Much as people are starting to come out and say that secession is the only way in a peaceful divorce, we're being pushed into this, and we're being herded into something that seems similar to the Attack of the Clones. And while it might be a little bit tinfoily for me to come out and say that there's a shadowy figure, maybe even a Sith Lord that's controlling it all, it's pushing its way, I mean, we're seeing a lot of the same things play out in real life that we saw play out in Attack of the Clones. People wanting to tear off, people fighting each other in the streets, a Senate that can't agree with each other, that can't get any legislation done, more and more power being heaped onto the executive, the Grand Chancellor. It's a scary time. And now talk about shock troops and an army rising up to support the government side. It makes me a little uneasy, I'm not going to lie. And I still love those movies, by the way. It is, and I know it was well overacted, but I do still cry like a little bitch when I hear Natalie Portman say, "Anakin, you're breaking my heart." I haven't got to that part in the movie yet, but I'll probably watch that later on tonight. But definitely, if you haven't seen those movies for a while, I'm sure that everybody's seen them that watches this program. If you haven't seen those movies for a while, then I suggest you guys go out and check them out. It's really interesting to sit back and watch over and over again and just watch some of the parallels with real life. But of course, you can, if you're looking for it, you can find a parallel in anything too, they say. But that's the way that I see it. And then probably next week I'll start in on the originals. Alright, now let's do a thing that I hate. So this is going to be span across two tabs. One, starting with a tweet and then the article that follows up with it. From Occupy Democrats, breaking. A large Florida landlord announces that he will begin requiring all new and existing tenants to provide proof of COVID vaccination, saying, you don't want to get vaccinated, you have to move. And if you don't, we'll evict you. Retweet if you support the landlord's move. Well, first off, fuck Occupy Democrats. I mean, it is the guy's private property. But now, with this, because this is happening, now Occupy Democrats is going to get a gigantic fucking boner and come out and say, well, how can we get all the rest of the landlords of the country to go do the same thing? Because we need all of them to get rid of all their tenants unless they get vaccinated. Out in the streets with you, unless you get the vaccine. That's the problem I have with this. And to go on, we will go talk about this for just a second. South Florida landlord requires new tenants and those renewing their leases to be vaccinated. This is from Leila Santiago over at CNN. A South Florida landlord is requiring new tenants over the age of 18 or any adult tenants who want to renew a lease in one of the 1,200 units he manages to provide proof of a COVID-19 vaccination. Santiago Alvarez told CNN that he has no plan to change his rule despite threats from Governor Ron DeSantis to fine businesses that require proof of vaccination. Alvarez said that he made the decision a month ago after seeing too many of his tenants die from COVID-19. I think my decision was right, and I will defend it any way I can. If I get fined, I will go to court with it, he told CNN. The landlord also requires his employees to be fully vaccinated. He told CNN that he has 2 employees and 2 tenants that have just left because of his vaccination policies. Alvarez, who said he's voted Republican for a long time, said he is not a DeSantis fan and urges the governor to follow the science, not the polls. DeSantis has made it clear that he does not support mask and vaccine mandates, citing personal choice as a greater priority. These mandates are overreaches and they will be very destructive.
New at 6 from the border, thousands of migrants are crowded under a bridge in Del Rio. The KENS 5 border team obtained this video of people.
Shut up, you. These mandates are overreaches and they will be very destructive for a lot of really good people, DeSantis said on Tuesday. The governor announced this week he will fine county and city governments requiring employees to get vaccinated against COVID-19, threatening a $5,000 fine per violation. Alvarez said he has about 80 to 100 tenants in Broward and Miami-Dade, with lease renewals coming up soon. He said he's willing to be flexible with tenants who don't want to provide proof of vaccination, but also don't have anywhere to go. He will consider a lease extension on a month-to-month basis with higher rent. I don't want to put them on the streets, but I don't want them to be a danger to my tenants or to my employees, Alvarez said. DeSantis' press secretary, Christina Pushaw, noted that Florida Department of Health's rule enforcing a ban on vaccine passports will take effect on Tuesday. Under Florida law, people cannot be required to show vaccine passports as a condition of entry of service, she said. There's a $5,000 fine for each violation. And that's the thing that I hate about this. Like I said, this is this guy's private property. And this is the way that he feels he needs to manage his private property. You do you, man. And don't be surprised when all your tenants go out and then you get all these tenants back in who are young, hipster millennials who just want to go out party and trash your fucking buildings. Don't be surprised when that's what you get in there because you had to go virtue signaling. And by the way, Occupy Democrats is advertising you now at this point. Oh, we can go there and this guy's a vaccine requirement guy, this guy's on our side. And then you get a bunch of college students that come in and trash your facility. Because they're just learning for the first time. But yeah, these mandates are overreaches. But I think the free market should decide this guy's fate, especially in Florida, where, like John always says, you know, guys, I went back to normal in April of 2020, and I never changed back. And there are a lot more Florida men like that. This guy might ruin himself between the fines, which I don't agree with, because DeSantis did them with a pen and a phone, and not through the legislature like they're supposed to be. But with the fines, and then the people who aren't going to want to rent from him, I think this guy's going to be ruined. With 1,200 units. And then somebody with some business sense can come in and pick it all back up. But that's it. That's the thing that I hate today. All right, let's go. Let's do this. I gotta go to work, you guys. So, let's get out of here. Alright, so thanks everybody who chatted in the live chat, making fun of a little bit of Brave Dave from yesterday too. Thank you guys for being good sports about that. And yeah, I mean, those of you who have wrenches, if you see something like that, go and give him a little slap on the wrist. Shut him up for a couple minutes. Let him think about what he done. I don't like to ban people unless they're being really, really, really abusive to other people. But, you know, if they're just spouting off stuff, trying to get people taken off the air or whatnot, yeah, go. We might need to go and shut some of them up for a little while. At least let them think about it here. But anyway, thanks everybody who was here today, came and hang out with us. It was quite the day, and we still have some more stuff to go over as well. So we will be back here tomorrow. Even if they scattershot it, we will finish it. Plus, you know, we've got the handy dandy notebook, so we can come back and interact with chat tomorrow. Because, you know, I'd hate for me to be here sitting here talking to myself. You know, that might trigger some people over on Twitch, but we can go back and make fun of them forever. We will see you here tomorrow. Remember, there is no Daily Ignoramus today, so he will be back here tomorrow as well. We will see you then. Until then, you guys, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.